Most assuredly I say to you, he who does not enter the sheepfold by the door, but climbs up some other way, the same is a thief and a robber. But he who enters by the door is the shepherd of the sheep. To him the doorkeeper opens, and the sheep hear his voice. And he calls his own sheep by name and leads them out. And when he brings out his own sheep, he goes before them, and the sheep follow him, for they know his voice. Yet they will by no means follow a stranger, but will flee from him, for they do not know the voice of strangers. Jesus used this illustration, but they did not understand the things which he spoke to them. Then Jesus said to them again, Most assuredly I say to you, I am the door of the sheep. All who ever came before me are thieves and robbers, but the sheep did not hear them. I am the door. If anyone enters by me, he will be saved, and will go in and out and find pasture. So we can start. I think where I want to start with this tonight is, so Jesus is saying he's the gate, and he says a lot of things like this in the scriptures. He says he's the way, the truth, and the light. He's the gate, and he very often makes statements. It's not as explicit here, but he very often makes statements where it's very clear that he does not see himself as another human being. He doesn't see himself as another human being. He very often refers to human beings as you. You are this way, but I'm this way. And so what this is really about, I think, is he's talking about his unique power and his unique authority to free human beings from their suffering and their pain and their confusion. And there's a lot of ways you can come to know that. I know that's true. I know Jesus. I don't have any sort of lingering doubts about Jesus's unique authority. I know it for so many reasons. One way is I know it is because whenever I see a person give themselves to Christ, then all these changes just begin to happen in their life that weren't happening before. Even if they were on a spiritual path or doing therapy or doing all kinds of other things. There's something about Jesus's power and authority to free human beings that is unique. And in this scripture, he says a lot of different stuff. But one of the things he's saying though is that my sheep hear my voice. And that means he thinks that you can kind of tell who he is if you listen. And sometimes you got to get around a lot of programming to get there. I mean, I had a lot of programming, New Age sort of propaganda that I had absorbed. By the time I started coming to Jesus, I had a lot in the way of coming to him. There was a lot of things. He went to India. He was an avatar. He really learned from the Tibetans. And I absorbed all this stuff that I knew was true in my heart and in my bones when I started coming to Christ. And so his voice was unique. I could hear him calling me. I could tell that I was being led to Jesus. I wished it was something cooler. I wished it was something more exotic. I wished it was, I really wanted it to be a druid. I just wanted it to be druidism, which I still love, of course. But I didn't want it to be Jesus. It wasn't very cool. But I knew it was true. I knew I was getting drawn to it. I could hear his voice. And I'm guessing if you're here a little bit, you can hear his voice too. You can hear that. There's a way to know. And religion isn't the same as Jesus. So you think, well, maybe I could get into Jesus, but religion is a mess. Well, yeah, it is great. It's filled with human beings. We screw everything up all the time. I listened to these scholars recently. They're basically atheists, but they see the deep value in religion. They're deeply worried about where we're at as a society. I don't know if you guys know this, but the leading thinkers today are concerned globally for the global community, deeply. They think that we have lost all of our moorings, and there's a lot of evidence for what they're saying, and they think that we're basically on the precipice of falling into total meaninglessness, and that will lead to chaos on a global scale. I don't know if you guys know this. These are the discussions that are being had right now amongst the world's thinkers. The great thinkers of the world think we're really on the precipice here and in trouble. And these guys, I love these guys. They're super geniuses. They're smarter than me. That's all. I concede. But they don't. None of them believe in God. So they're trying to sort of syncretize all the good things from all the religions, and they know everything about all of them. And I listened to this conversation, and I just couldn't help but thinking, these guys are way smarter than me. They know more about Christianity than I know sometimes. And it's the blind leading the blind. They don't know the way out. They don't know the way. I can tell. So they see the issue, they see the problem, but they don't see what comes to anybody, simple, unintelligent or highly intelligent, gifted or not gifted. Anybody that enters a deep spiritual path learns something about life you can learn no other way. There's just no other way to get it. And it requires sitting still, and it requires regular meditation and prayer. There's a lot of things. So Jesus is saying right here to you, he's saying, I am the way. I'm the door. If you want to not miss truth, if you want to not miss a path that really does free you from suffering, if you want to not miss, if you want to make sure you get it, come through the door. Come through the door. I'm the door, he says. I'm the door. And he really means it. And I could hear that, man. I hear that, and I know it to be true now. But I don't know it because I blind myself to the world and the problems and just believe really hard. I know it because I watch it change human beings in ways that could not happen, no way, without a ton of work. And that when I was listening to these scholars, I mean, it started sounding like I've been on this path a long time. I understand spirituality. I don't know what you're talking about. It's so complicated. Your solution, plus how you can enroll anyone in it. They don't know what the hell you. If I don't know what they mean, a whole bunch of people don't know what you mean. They're trying to fix the world with their brains, and that's not the Christian path. Here's the Christian path. You decide you're going to give your life to God. You decide you're just going to try it as an experiment. I'll give you my life. I'll let you in for real, and I'll take your word seriously, and I'll take your teachings seriously. All that requires is getting involved in an authentic community that's actually doing the work. Doesn't have to be perfect. If you're looking for a perfect, the guy that taught me theology said, look, our boat leaks. He said, if you want a boat that doesn't leak, you're on the wrong planet. So yeah, every boat leaks, every community has problems. There's no perfect. But there's this Christ thing that is perfect. There's this Christ figure that is calling us to where he is, and he knows the way. And he also is the way. So then it's like there's this sea of possibilities out there. That's what these scholars were swimming in. I loved it, by the way. I loved it. I freaking love that. I love that kind of discourse. I love how polite they are. I love how they're not competing. I'm impressed by it But there's a sea of, and they didn't agree on how to fix the world. And I thought, you let them talk for 10 hours and it will degenerate into deep disagreements. They don't know the way. They're a part of the way. They're a part of the solution on the planet. They're working for Jesus, even if they don't know it. They're working towards the good. But Jesus knows the way. He knows the way out of it all. He is out of it all. So then when you come to him, it just starts to happen inside of your soul. And you don't have to know what's going to happen in order for it to happen. You don't have to make it happen. If you take it seriously, it requires prayer and meditation and mainly inventory. You have to start answering. If you take a poll, are you all good people? Then all the answers come in, yes, I'm a good person. We're all such good people. And it's okay. I believe you kind of actually, but also the world's falling apart, so we can't be that good. There must be something wrong somewhere or we wouldn't be spinning out. So we're all good people. We're kind of all not good people. Who's the standard of that? Who sets the standard of what's right and wrong, good and bad, true and false? That's got to come from somewhere higher than us. That's got to come from revelation. That has to come from someone who knows more than we know and has more than we have. So the way you make this path work, it's you say, okay, Jesus, I'm going to try it. For 1 year, I'm going to do this. If you don't show up, I'm out. But I'll try it. And you give him permission to enter your soul. You give him permission to have your mind, your heart, and your body, and do whatever he wants to do with it. This is the first thing. I give you everything. Here I am. It's none of my business. It's I'm a man, so I think I know something. I don't know anything. I'm 45 years old. I've learned some things. You give that up. You give it up. I don't know the way. Show me the way. That simple prayer does more for a person's spirituality than a ton of other things would ever do. Here I am, man. I give you my life. Just come on in. I give you permission to change me. And, if you're hearing this going, I can't say that yet without reservation. Well, duh. It's okay. You become a saint the day you can say it without reservation. You start in one place and you end in another, and in between there's the scale of it. How sincerely you can say that without reservation is how close to that power you are, because what Jesus taught is there isn't a karmic wheel you must climb through to get to God. There isn't a set of techniques you have to master. He brought it down to something really simple. Can you say yes and mean it? Are you sincere? That's it. That's it. If we're talking about the tip of Mount Timpanogos, all the sincerity in the world doesn't help me. Just okay, I want to be on top. I don't get closer. I really want to be on top, and I open my eyes and not any closer. And then someone says, get a vision board out, and you create the board and say, okay, now, you get the Mount Timpanogos, a picture on there, and you focus all your energies. You say, I'm on top right now. I'm on top right now. You open your eyes, you're not on top. You're just still sitting in your room. It's different if where you're going is someone. See, if God is personal, that's different. See, now it's not an inert object I've got to climb to get to it. Now it's someone. And I'm saying, man, God's not a man. I'm just a hippie. So, look, man, I really, really want to know you. I really want to be close to you. And then that's different, because then God says, oh, me too. That's all I ever wanted. I've just been waiting for you to say that. I've been waiting for you to know that it's possible, that there's more. You're so focused on work, and you're so focused on your whatever. You're so focused on all this other stuff, and I just love you, and I just let you go about it, and it's fine. But you never really said, hey, I want you now. So all of a sudden you say that and God says, me too. And now it's not Mount Timpanogos. Now it's a person who came close to you. And that's what the Christian revelation is primarily about. It's about a lot of things, but if you really want to just get it down to its essence, Jesus is saying God loves you. And all God wants is to bring you into heaven and union with itself. It's all God wants. It wants nothing else. It's all God wants for us. It's all God wants for any human being, is to become fully themselves, fully human, fully the way God made you to be, minus all the junk you pick up on this planet. And live in profound and permanent intimacy with the Trinity. This is Jesus' message, and there's a way in not through skill, but by way of relationship. It's a relationship, not a technique. So now all of a sudden you don't have to be good at it. And it's like, yeah, well, what if you say, but I suck at relationships? Well, me too, but God doesn't, so it's okay, because then it's like, God's like, okay, you do suck at it, that's all right, but here I am right next to you anyway, because now I won't leave you, because you've given me permission to do what I always wanted to do, which is just come and live with you. And that's like, in the New Age, when I was in the New Age and all that other stuff, I was striving so hard for enlightenment, so hard to achieve this state, and then I found out that state wanted to come and live in my room with me. For free, for no reason, except that it has infinite love. It just loves, that's it, it loves. That's the reason. It loves, so it just wants to come live with you, that's it. Broken Clinton, wounded by his upbringing, confused in the world, angry, all the problems I had coming into this, it's like God says, okay, so what? Okay, let's roll together right here, the way you are. Not once you're good, not once you're advanced, because that's rough for me. I might not make it if it's like that. So the uniqueness so Jesus is saying, I'm the gate, I am the way. We read recently, I am the truth and the light. He means that. So now your goal is someone. It's really complicated. I won't get into the Trinity, but into Jesus' relationship to the Trinity, other than to say that Jesus is the incarnation of the Trinity. It's not a man who reached enlightenment. That's not Jesus. That's the Buddha. And if the Buddha walks in the room, I'll lay at his feet. I'm not complaining. I'm not trying to compete. I'm just saying Jesus is something else. It's something else. And what Jesus is God who became a human being for all kinds of reasons. So now you've got this form and this name and this person who exists eternally, who is historical, who historians agree is historical. We have this Jesus guy who is God who became human. So you'd have a straight shot into God. That's the thing with Jesus. And so then he says here, I am the good shepherd, and he says, I'm the door or the gate. So what's the good shepherd do? Well, the good shepherd, he uses all these just, once again, I love those scholars, man. I'm going to listen to that thing 2 more times. But all these words, all these concepts, and here's Jesus saying, I'm the good shepherd. I'll show you the way in. He's got more than all of them, but he says less than all of them. And it's simple, so simple a child can understand it. So simple that anyone can get it. But what it means to be the good shepherd is, it means this. It means that he knows the way to get you to heaven. And don't think of heaven as like the test at the end where you might or might not get it. Think of heaven as infinite love. Think of heaven as all of your pain, your emotional and psychological pain and wounds you've accumulated through life being resolved and healed. Think of the way as Jesus sort of helping you get to a place where you can love infinitely forever. That's heaven. Infinite love for all of creation, infinite love for God. That's heaven, to live in profound and infinite love. And when Jesus says he's the good shepherd, he's saying, I know the way there. I know the way there. And if you'll follow me, I will take you there. And then Christian mysticism is really trippy. It's different. It's actually quite different than other traditions. It's more different. It's the most different of them because of this personal approach with grace. The way is long and the way is arduous. And you don't know the way in. John of the Cross says you come to God like a blind beggar. The blind beggar says, I don't know the way, I cannot see, and I have nothing to provide for the journey. This is the ideal condition of a human coming to Christ. I give up. I don't know the way. My intelligence has not fixed all my problems. My tenacity has not fixed all my problems. I've not been able to solve the dilemma of being human. I don't know the way. And the older I get, the less likely I think I'll figure it out before I'm dead. I don't know the way. This is Jesus gave us the map in, he left us a map. How do you get in? What are the exact stages? That's the Beatitudes. First one, blessed are the poor in spirit. Those are the ones who can say, I don't know. I don't know. And if you're 20 years on a journey and you've gone very deep, that does not change. It doesn't change. I know where I've gone to the degree I can see it. I know where I've been led through. To whatever glimpse I catch in what Jesus has done in me probably isn't much. But from here forward, I do not know the way. I don't know the way. The way is this. I don't know the way, God. But I give you permission to take me. You take me and I'll go. If a person makes that step and has proper coaching to not ruin it with all kinds of self, all kinds of fixing things and hurrying it and slowing it down and making it a little prettier, and we have a way of getting involved. If a person does that, then Jesus will begin to heal all of their psychological and emotional wounds. And that's great if you want them healed. Maybe it's not so great if you don't want to deal with that, but that's part of the path. It's no use being on fire. If electricity is coming through me, I can heal people with it. But I'm still deeply wounded by my past and harming others in the present because of it. That's not spirituality. Spirituality is all the pain of life has been resolved by Christ. And I've been brought to peace. The way the monk that taught me about peace said, I asked him, what is peace? He said, peace is the tranquility of order. It's just what's there when you're not doing this inside. Not feeling all these things going on inside, that fears and concerns and worries and agendas, and that gets quieted by Christ. We learn to allow one. I talked to someone today who's getting it, and I said, he's getting humility, and which is, like if you hear someone talking and you can hear humility, they can't miss. You know it. Like you could hear someone having visions. You're like, they might get in, they might not. I know a guy that was levitating sometimes, and I'm not sure he's going to make it. So you can hear a lot of things from people, but when you hear someone coming with true humility, you think they're not going to miss. And I said something like, but you are willing to go into that. He was talking about humility and how it's like really good, but also a little funky, it's not so great he was talking about it being a man in the world, and you got to be strong, and you got to, and he doesn't like going into the world and having God make him humble, because it's like, where's his defenses he uses? And it's a little scary, walking around in this world without, flexing a little and keeping people at bay, and, whatever you do, that's a guy doing it, a certain kind of guy. But I said, but you're willing to, right? And he said, well, yeah. But then he said something genius. He said, but I think the die is already cast. It is happening. Did you catch that? He didn't say, I'm making it happen. He didn't say, I'm doing it. He said, it's happening. And it feels, he didn't say inevitable, but it feels inevitable. Like this is where it's going. Kind of like it or not. That's what it's like to accept salvation. That's what it's like to accept salvation. To have powers from God start to pour into you because you've said yes. That start to change you profoundly. In ways you want and in ways you don't want, but in ways that when you get to the end, you will be fully happy. Fully human. If you do that, then your worldview begins to change. And you start to see that God actually is real. And some people always have known God is real, but that knowing grows quite a lot. And some people are unsure in the beginning, but then they begin to see, yes, God is really, truly real. It's real. And if you let Christ into your life, you begin to see that God is real, and then you begin to start realizing God made you. That dawns on you one day. And then you think, oh, wow, there's dignity in being human. There must be profound dignity in it if God made us. Our secular world, these scholars that were talking about the danger of where we're at right now, like 99% of everything they said is 100% true, which is just ridiculous. They're so smart. But they talked about how we used to know that. There was a time when everyone on the planet felt something like that. And since the industrial age forward, we have begun to lose it. And that our secular world right now offers us almost no meaning. Almost nothing. It even mocks meaning now. It's almost as if it's placed us at war between the right and left hemispheres of our brain. The right brain only sees meaning. And yet our scientific religions have taught us there is no meaning in anything. It's just happening. It's just matter unfolding. We've almost lost it all. But then again, anyone who just takes a minute to notice is swimming in meaning. And yet it could destroy the planet. It could destroy civilization as we know it. The degeneracy that is unfolding as people lose their mooring in a sense of community and love and purpose. A shared purpose. You naturally just start to see, you start to see God is real, you start to see I'm part of God, and you start to look around and go, oh, whoa, like when that happened to Raya, oh, there's people out here, and they're part of God too, and this is really neat. Like, oh my gosh, there's other people. I only noticed me. If you get salvation and you come along with Jesus, you start to see through the complexity of the world. Looks like lots of problems, until you start seeing the root of all the problems. And the way you find that out, it's really simple. You don't take the world's inventory. You just start to know yourself. You start to know all the ins and outs of all the lies and the deception and the insecurity and the fear. And right about when you see it all in yourself, you just can't not see it everywhere you look. It's not judgment at that point, probably. You just see. And then you realize, whoa, we think we have complicated problems, but we have pretty simple problems. Pretty simple, actually. It's like about 9 things on a list. Is all that's wrong. And then seeing that, you start to get pulled out of the world because you start to realize that the world of trees and rocks and stones and human beings and animals is beautiful. It's beautiful. But the world we've constructed, the mental world, our sense of what it means to be human is deeply corrosive. And you just start pulling out of it. Jesus says, in the world but not of it. You still go to work. Bills got to get paid. No one cares. I meditate. Smith doesn't care. They don't give me free groceries. They don't care. Like I really meditate a lot. Could I have some food? No. Get. They don't care. So you just still show up in the world. You have to do your thing. But you're not in it anymore. You start to feel yourself being pulled out of it. And there's a lot of chaos and trouble in it. So you get pulled out of it and you feel free from that. It's just wonderful. But these are things, you don't do these things. These things are done in you. You don't read about it and make it happen. It's not real if you do that. But it starts to happen because Christ is changing you. That's the difference. That's what it is to receive grace. You start getting initiated into true values. I hope this is okay, but I won't mention any names. But, you could wake up on a path like this and realize that your family is the most important thing in your life and you didn't know that. That could happen. You could wake up on this path and realize that's unless you have my family. And then you stay away from them because they're so toxic that it's not possible. But it's just this simple. God is a trinity of being. It's all relational. God is relational. So then you love people. You love them. How could you not love them? You love them. And then all of a sudden you start to see that people are a delight, and that when you're looking into a person's eyes or experiencing their personhood, you're being given a glimpse of God. You just are. And you don't have to say it and preach it and make it sound so neat. You just start noticing that. And you notice that with trees and rocks and animals too. All of a sudden it's freaking neat. It's sacred. You're looking around at God's ideas, and once you have a deep value of God and this reverence for God, then you can't help but have reverence for its creation. Now all of a sudden everything is meaningful. These scholars today that I listened to were talking about how we're hyper left-brained. We've really learned or been taught or conditioned to reject the right brain completely. It says the left brain is unable to see meaning completely. They've done all kinds of studies. 2 of these guys were cognitive psychologists. The left brain can't experience deep meaning. It can build a tool, and it can make a plow. It can do a lot of cool stuff, actually. I like that stuff, and I'm not very good at it, and I really extra respect it because I don't quite have that gift. But it not only can't see meaning, but it kind of desires to annihilate it. And they talked about how for the last 80 years or so, our education system mostly just strengthens the left brain. And that's hurt people. It's hurt people. It's taken people away from. So you're on this path, you're with Jesus, and all of a sudden there's a dog in front of you, and you thought, how in the heck did I miss this freaking dog? And then you start to love this dog and care about it, and you didn't notice before. And then you start noticing there's people around. They're a little scarier, depending if you're wounded. I'm wounded, so that's harder. But you start to come to you, oh my gosh, they're so neat. There's all this incredible stuff right in front of my face. And what am I looking for instead? I've been going out all the time and doing this. And the precious thing, the important thing's been right there for free and I didn't see it. That happens if you get Christ. You can't miss it. It's relational. And so that's like you start to have true values and you begin to value things like humility. When I found God at 19, humility wasn't particularly on my mind. It was not, and I took a long time after that. I would say that I started learning it at 19. In fact, even when I got involved with spirituality, it was more like whatever would make me look good, look strong, look powerful, look smart. That's what I want. I want gifts that will, make me look better. I would have never said that. And if I said it out loud, I would have thought, that's disgusting. But I didn't say it out loud. It just was it was like a little program underneath the surface, little hiding program all the time. This made me look bad. Heal that God. But it's different when you get Jesus because you start, if you go in classically, it could go any direction you want, but it starts with humility. I'm not that great, I'm not that smart, I'm not that gifted, I'm not that special. And that's a relief. That's a relief. Anyone who has humility can weep with gratitude when they say that. Because it's such a relief. The broken, wounded self feels less than others, so it's got to try to be something so neat to live up to it, and all that is so much work. And humility just says, dude, give up, man. Who cares? You're not the first of the class, and you're not the last of the class. You're just roll with it. It's okay. And a whole ton of psychological and emotional energy that is spent trying to do all that all the time, which is just like weird work. It's like impossible work. It's insane. You stop. Just stop. Who cares? It's okay. I don't have to be a great worker. I don't have to be a consummate professional. I don't have to be a great intellectual. I don't have to be the toughest person in the room. I don't have to be the prettiest person in the room. I don't have to be perfect. Who cares? That's all fake. It's all fake. That's the devil's teaching. That's not God's teaching. You just let it go. You let it go because you are something. God made you something. And what God made is pretty neat. And the world can only make it less. It does not add to it. It makes it less. You begin to value and desire suffering. Bear with me here. Don't leave yet. We all have it already. So that's the thing. It's already there. And it turns out that experiencing our suffering in a spiritual way gets us closer to God. It turns out that experiencing our suffering, it heals as you experience it. There's healing involved here. It turns out that the way into enlightenment is through our suffering. This is why Jesus died on a cross. He could not miss it. You can't miss it. Don't miss it. That's what he's saying. Don't miss it. Here's a symbol so you do not miss it. You come to God with your suffering, you find yourself closer to God. You come to God with your suffering, you find yourself closer to you. You come to God with your suffering, you find Jesus suffering with you in every single bit of it. And you didn't notice because you weren't there. He shares every single bit of it, all the time. He's there. We're not always there. Jesus went on the cross. He didn't, if you know all the circumstances, you know he didn't do it arbitrarily. You know it all just dovetailed perfectly. Like the Jews wanted to kill him, and he needed to show that death wasn't the end, and he needed to show you there's a way to suffer that's enlightening. It all just worked out. So he didn't teach us we seek suffering. He just said, you're on this planet, you're having some suffering. That's what it means to be on this planet. It's just how it is. So you start to value that, and you see how it gets you closer to God. Sometimes someone will come in and they look extra pretty to be just beautiful. Almost every single time I can guess now they're in suffering. Because they're we just keep trying to put on that false self, And that a little bit of that suffering just knocks us down a peg or two, and we get open to God, and there's a beauty in it. There's a beauty in it. And I'll say, you look extra nice today. What's going on? I've really been processing. But there's a God light in them too. There's a God light in there. There's a beauty in it. I'm almost done here. I should pray more. I should meditate more. I should, Jesus heals that. And you want to. Jesus heals that, so it's not a should, because what kind of a relationship is based on should? I mean, there is some value in duty. I have a duty to my daughter, show up whether I feel like it or not. There's some good shoulds there. But if that's all I had with my daughter, just should, that wouldn't be love, man. A lot would not be done if it wasn't love. So then when you come to Christ, he starts to heal you, and he starts to show you that under the shoulds and the resistances and institutions telling you should, and you saying, get off my back, and all that craziness, under all that nutso-ness, all that noise, you do love God, and you do want to spend time with God. The same conversation with the same man today. He fell back into some behavior that he used to do all the time. It's not a big deal, but he just fell back into it. And he said, he said a lot of neat stuff, but one of the things he said that was so powerful was, I'm aware now of how much harm it does for me, and I don't want to live like that. And this, I don't want to give details, but this is something that right now in the world people are saying is a good thing now. It's good. It's all good. It's helped everyone. We should do more of it. But they're so spiritually dead, they don't even feel the loss when they do it. They never had it to lose. But now he's sensitive, and he's got this God living in him, and he does this stuff, and God doesn't ditch. But it's like peace is the tranquility of order. When the room is quiet, you can hear that small sound over there, like God whispering, and you can't hear it when it's noisy. And that behavior brings up a lot of noise. Your relationships with others, this is just what I think, not my experience, but just what I think is known about it. It starts becoming service-oriented. And that doesn't mean you don't let people get to know you and tell them things about yourself. That's not that. It's just like, instead of going to the party with an agenda to look pretty, cool, smart, hide away, whatever it is, you're actually just genuinely hoping you might bring light to someone's life that night. You just have this thing going on because you have something to give. So your relationships become about service, and they become about caring, and they become about cherishing. One of the things we say in our home all the time is, we're really glad you were born. Like, so glad you were born. It's so neat that you exist. It becomes about seeing them. Some people use the word witnessing them. But just beholding the neatness of somebody. And that's just stuff that's hard to do when you're filled with all kinds of worldly motivations and desires, and things get quieter and more subtle things are wonderful. Subtle but wonderful. And I wrote a lot more about animals, but I won't go crazy tonight. But animals are, like the cutest little manifestations of all time. I mean, these are little God's ideas. That hardness of heart that makes us not see that's got to melt. They're incredible, cute little fuzzy cute things, and they have the neatest abilities that we don't have that are so incredible, and there's so much there to just kind of be blown away by. And you notice adults don't like to talk about animals anymore. If I went back before I was wiser, I'd get around people and well, tell me about yourself. I just really like animals, and the room just goes dead. Okay, weirdo, he's out. Let's talk about the freaking stock market or golf or something, And I learned not to answer. I don't say that anymore in regular company. I'll say I really love animals. I just know I'm not saying that because I know you're going to get shunned, But but it's true though. That's kind of one of the things I'm thinking about a lot. They're so neat. God made stuff. That's cooler to me than the next iPhone. I'm sorry, it is. It's way neater. It's just beautiful. They're beautiful. Trees too, and everything. The most beautiful, what I just said, what's powerful about this though is you don't do this. You don't make a list of all the ways you're supposed to be and then go be that. That's not the way. That will make you nuts. You'll fail. You won't be able to make it happen. You'll act as if, but then the feeling won't come. You can't make it happen. You don't have to make it happen. You don't have to make it happen. You're not even supposed to make it happen. You're just supposed to dispose yourself to the energies of God that grow it in you. That's it. Put the plant in the sunlight and it grows. You don't tell it, try to become a strawberry. Really visualize this strawberry. Make a strawberry happen. You don't even know if it's a strawberry plant. Just let it, put it in the sun and see. The strawberry plant doesn't know it's a strawberry plant until it produces a strawberry. That's the thing. It's just got this weird growth on it. It's like, what? I'm getting a tumor? It's like that. It's like that. I don't know who I am, but it's unfolding as God grows it. I don't have to label it either, and I don't have to say, this is who I am. I think if I say that, I'm destroying God's good creation with limited thoughts and language. It is what it is. It's God's creation and it's good. Jesus can do that because he's not a man who reached enlightenment. That's why he can do that. He can do that because he made you. That's why. Like not Jesus the man in the body, but the God who became human. That being, that infinite being that has no gender, that is transcendent of form, that being made you. It thought you up one day out of nothing. And it has the authority to say, yeah, I know how to get you where you're going. I know where you're going. Just come with me, I'll show you. It's kind of all about energy. It's just about energy. God's never not been shining those energies on you. It's not like God saying, now I'll love you if you'll do what I want. But there's a will in here, and it can say no, and it can say yes. You say yes, the energies pour in, the changes start to happen. Kind of ready or not, almost a little. And it's because God loves you, not because you've done something to earn it. That's really important. Jesus is really radically opposed to this notion that you had to earn it. That kind of stuff pissed him off a little. Like, if you ever see him being harsh in the scriptures, it's always with religious leaders holding that kind of stuff over somebody. You don't see him pissed ever, except when you see religious leaders holding people back with those kinds of things. And then you see fierceness come out of him. Because he says to them, you won't go in and you're not letting anyone else go in either, by imposing this on them. So his take is just like, let me in, man, and I'll grow it in you. And then your job is to keep saying yes when you're afraid of it, when it's uncomfortable, when you are being brought somewhere you don't think you naturally like. And your job is to not take the reins and try to make it faster when it's going a direction you like. Just your job is to just kind of really just sort of hold very still and let me do this in you. That's it, really.